What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over 15 Fortnite Chapter 4 tips that you're going to wish you knew sooner. A lot of these things you would find out from playing if you've played a lot this chapter, but whenever I've shown these things or kind of talked about it on stream, a lot of people in chat were unaware of it oftentimes. So I thought I'd make this video just going over a bunch of like niche, like random assortment of tips. If you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and comment down below if you learned something useful from this video. The first thing is going to be that you can actually fish using a Shockwave Hammer. So if you go up to a fishing spot and smash it with the Shockwave Hammer, you can actually get fish from it. I'll have some clips of it here. A lot of times I got small fry from these clips, but when I've done it in the past, I have gotten floppers more consistently and shield fish. This is really nice if you come across a fishing spot, you're not in the most HP, maybe you're in storm or whatever. A lot of people are carrying the Shockwave Hammer this season, so you basically always have a means to instantly get fish from a fishing hole, which is really nice. Another interesting piece of information for this season is that if you pick one of the augments that grants you a weapon like the bow specialist or the tactical armory augment, you will actually respawn with these items if you get rebooted in a team game mode. So if you're playing squads, you get tactical armory and then you end up going down and getting thirsted, but your team is able to reboot you, you will come back alive with these weapons. I'm not sure if this is a bug in that it'll get fixed at some point in the future or this is intentional, but this is currently how the game works, which is pretty interesting. The Splash Medic augment has potential to give you splashes from everything you open. So a lot of players interpret this as just chests, and I myself did as well for whatever reason. But you can get chug splashes from opening ammo boxes, vegetable baskets, toolboxes, and even the those containers that hold fishing poles. You can get chug splash from it, and you can even get an extra chug splash from opening coolers using this augment. So if you get lucky and have Splash Medic and open a cooler and get double chug splash spawn plus the extra one, you can get 5 chug splash out of a single cooler, which is pretty nice. So if you are someone that has been taking Splash Medic, you can get chug splash all over the place. And like I said earlier in the video, I get this on stream a lot, and oftentimes when I'm getting chug splash from random containers, a lot of people are caught off guard by the fact that that's how Splash Medic works. Another thing that can save your life in Chapter 4 is that if you slide before using the hammer, you have potential to take fall damage. So if you use the hammer while you're in the animation of sliding, you will take fall damage if you went high enough to take fall damage. This will happen a lot of times if you hammer off a mountain or kind of from normal ground to low ground in some way. You can end up taking fall damage when using the hammer, so just be careful and make sure you don't slide while you're using the hammer. You can slide after when you land, but it's like before you use the hammer, you don't want to be sliding going into the hammer strike. This will probably be fixed in the future, but for now that's the way it is. When you get marked from storm mark, you do get a white indicator above you. It's like a little white arrow type thing, and you can hear other people's storm mark go off. So when you get marked by some other player's storm mark, you can hear it activate on them. It is pretty quiet, but this can give you a nice little piece of information of where that opposing player is that just marked you, and while you have that white indicator above yourself, you are marked. I'm not sure why they decided to do this instead of just having the red diamond above you for yourself as well, like it was in the past if your teammate got interrogated or you got marked by one of the scanners. But yeah, if you're playing at someone who has storm mark, you will have a white little arrow thing above your head if you are currently pinged for them. The hammer is not like the Nimbus Cloud in that when you take somebody else's hammer, you get how many charges were in it. So let's say you use 4 of your hammer charges pushing somebody and you elim them and their hammer had 4 uses, you can swap your hammer for theirs and have 4 uses again. So if you ever used your hammer and you come across a fresh one or you end up getting the kill on somebody, it is worth checking out and kind of just getting in the habit of swapping hammers if theirs has more uses. So this is something that I've tried to get better at myself recently because it can save your life. You know, just having a few extra hammer charges ready to go can be a huge difference maker in a lot of fights this season because third parties are just all over the place this season. Another really helpful thing is that if you play on controller, you can actually bind your augment to the emote slot. I'm not sure if this was there on day 1 or not. I was not aware of it initially. And then I ended up getting told about it by a week later from one of my viewers. I initially just thought that I had to come up with some weird solution to binds, but you can actually bind emote and augment to the same thing. And the way this works is if you have an augment available, it'll go to augments. If you don't have an augment available, the button will do emotes. And I feel like that's a perfect solution because you really don't need to emote a lot of times. So you can bind them together. And then that will be a way for, if you're playing on controller, to have somewhat ideal keybinds while also keeping the augment selection. There are these gold zones in Chapter 4. I think there's 2 POIs per game that are marked gold. And these gold locations will spawn drones at them that you can kill. And they will drop pretty high rarity weapons, or at least they have potential to drop high rarity weapons, and they drop 2 healing items each, which is pretty significant. Pretty much anytime I land at one of these gold locations, I come away with max chug splashes easily, and this is much better than how it was in Chapter 1. If you guys played late in Chapter 1, I believe it was Season 9 they added these. I don't think they dropped heals back then, and I think it dropped only up to blue weapons, and if I remember correctly, it didn't drop pumps. Like, there was a very small pool of weapons that you could actually get from the drones. But from my experience, the way the drones are now is it can drop any item in the game, and it also drops double heals. So these gold locations are a great place to land. You'll usually have a bunch of extra shield coming out of it, get extra weapons, or if you just happen to be at a point in the game where you have no heals, going to one of these gold locations can be like a pretty big improvement to your game, because you can get a lot of heals quickly from these drones. There are rift events in Chapter 4, so you'll kind of hear it. It sounds like something crashing or kind of like lightning. It's not like the same sound a rift would make, but it's different, and it is very noticeable. And these create random events on the map. There's one that spawns 3 llamas on a big rock. There's one that spawns vending machines. There's one that spawns hollow chests. There's ones that just spawn like straight up chests. There's one that spawns a bunch of vaults. But keep your ears peeled for these rift events, because once again, if you're in another situation where you're scuffed or like you don't have some piece of loot that you need, typically it's going to be heals in these type of situations. These rift events can be a huge game changer for you, especially the ones that spawn several chests or the ones that spawn several llamas, because if you're playing build mode, that's a ridiculous amount of mats right there, but also a ridiculous amount of heals as well, which can be really, really helpful. There is an NPC on the map that sells hammers. I'll have a clip of it on screen now, somewhat near the center of the map, in between Faulty Splits and the place that's on the far right of the map that starts with an S. I forgot the name of it, but yeah, there's an NPC that sells hammers for 250 gold, and the castle next to him has 2 potential Oathbound chests spawn. So if you, for whatever reason, just can't get a hammer, this is a good place to end up rotating to. That way you can either get one from the Oathbound chest in the castle, or just buy one from the NPC. And this is a place that some players like landing. Personally, I wouldn't want to do that myself, but if you are just super desperate to get a hammer, coming through here can be a way for you to get a hammer consistently. So slap juice is an item they added in Chapter 4, and a lot of people know that this makes it to where you have unlimited sprint, but there's also slap juice barrels around the map, and slap juice berries, or just the slap juice themselves, because you can get them from coolers, which are spread amongst the map pretty evenly. And even if you are full HP, consuming the slap juice is nice because of that unlimited sprint. So whenever you come across slap juice berries or the slap juice barrels or just a slap juice beverage, always take it, because having that unlimited sprint is really nice, and then you won't have to use your hammer charges in that time, and then your hammer will be up when you go into a fight. So it's just a way for you to get around the map faster. If you have the ability to get unlimited sprint for a period of time, you might as well do so. That's a pretty big advantage. The hammer is very important in Chapter 4, and a lot of people rely on using it as a melee weapon, which can be annoying to deal with. But if you end up getting to the side or behind the person while they're in the middle of the hammer strike, you will basically have a free kill on them if you dodge their hammer strike, because when you dodge it, they get stuck in that animation for like a brief time period afterwards, and that is more than enough for you to get a lot of damage on them and get the kill super easily. So when you have someone trying to play off a hammer strike, try to just get behind them rather than trying to like kill them before they get it off. And if you're able to do that, you should have a pretty easy kill. Or just hammer yourself to the side if it looks like they're going to go for the hammer strike, because even if you aren't like on them, they'll still be stuck in that animation, and you can get easy shots on them. The capture point is something new they added in Chapter 4, and this makes it to where you get extra loot and you mark everybody in the POI after you capture it. But one thing a lot of people don't realize is that there's a very obvious audio cue whenever someone hits the capture point, and this will happen a lot off spawn of just people kind of crossing through the area. Whether or not they're trying to capture it or not, if they go into that circle, it makes a noise. So if you hear that noise, then you know that someone is in that circle. And then alternatively, if you are trying to push someone early game or playing around this capture point in some way early game, don't go into the area, because then the enemies are going to get alerted to where you are. So you can use that both ways. You don't want to be giving the noise, but if the enemy makes the noise happen, then you know exactly where they are. And that little piece of awareness can go a long way early game, especially because people don't have the most loot early game. People don't have the most shield. A lot of the fights just come down to timing. The Twin Mag SMG is a new SMG added in Chapter 4, and this SMG only has 20 rounds per mag, but it has a fast reload every other reload. And next to the reticle, you can see the 2 magazines. If you see 2 magazines with ammo in it, then you're going to get the fast reload. But once you reload, you'll only see 1 mag next to the reticle or 1 mag filled next to the reticle. And that means you're going to get a slow reload. And with this weapon, you want to have that fast reload whenever you're in a fight. So I'll oftentimes just spray out a bullet or 2 to get the slow reload over with. That way I can be ready to get the fast reload in an actual fight. So basically, if you're using the Twin Mag SMG, whenever you have some sort of downtime, check and make sure that you're going to be on the fast reload, because if you're in a fight, you want to have that fast reload ready to go. With the Chug Cannon augment, you can actually save this until you want the Chug Cannon. So you can check your augment, see that you got the Chug Cannon one, kind of back out of the augment menu, play the game normally, maybe you get tagged or something, then you can go in and get the Chug Cannon augment, and you basically just had a Chug Cannon in your back pocket the entire time without consuming 2 inventory slots. So this is really nice, especially if you end up getting the Chug Cannon as your final augment, because if you get it as your first augment, you probably don't want to save it all game hoping you come across a chance where you can kind of cheese and use it for free, because then you won't have access to your other augments in the meantime. But if you haven't gotten your other augments yet, or maybe, like I said, you get this Chug Cannon one as your final augment, then you aren't really losing much by kind of keeping it in your back pocket. And that could be just a game changer, you know. A lot of people kind of struggle with their inventory because they want to run a lot of healing items. And when you have a Chug Cannon in your back pocket without consuming any inventory space, that's pretty insane, because the Chug Cannon is one of the better healing items in the game. And then the final thing we're going to talk about is when you're shot by the Excalibur rifle, the thing that shoots swords that blow up, you can actually emote to make it to where you can get away from the sword. So this will probably be patched at some point in the future, and I really don't even know how practical this is, because just if you think about it, someone shoots you with the Excalibur, you have to immediately emote, and then you can get away from the sword. But if you're emoting in the middle of the fight with somebody, they're probably just going to kill you anyways. So I really don't know how practical this is, but it is a way for you to potentially avoid the Excalibur sword if you react pretty much immediately and then don't get punished for the fact that you were emoting in the middle of the fight. So it's interesting. People make a big deal about it, but I really don't think it is the most practical thing. But maybe you'll get into a situation where it's actually beneficial for you. But that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys found this helpful and informative. I hope you learned something weird about Fortnite Chapter 4. Like I said, a lot of these things you might find out from playing, but if you haven't played a bunch this season or watched a bunch of videos, a lot of these like niche tips might have been lost on you. But give the video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you like some more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.